Let me let me run it down to you. This is the biggest fight of his career in his country, and he's weight drained. So even though he made 147 pounds. He's fighting Manny Pacquiao, obviously, for the WBO 147-pound title over in Australia on ESPN. This is Manny Pacquiao's first non-pay-per-view fight in 12 years. His last fight was in November against Jesse Vargas after he beats, because it's very looking like he's going to beat the shit out of Jeff Horn, because Jeff Horn is not even focused. After he's going to go on to a big fight, whether it's Adrian Broner, Terrence Crawford, Amir Khan again, who knows? So this fight is taking place over in Australia. A lot of people are, especially Americans, are bitching at the fight. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Manny Pacquiao is not American. Even though, they want to appeal to American audiences, obviously, but you have to understand, Manny Pacquiao is still a global superstar. So, he still has the Filipinos and a very strong Asian fan base that will watch anything that he does. And also the fact that it's over in Australia in front of 55, 60,000 people. Australia has never seen a star like Manny Pacquiao as far as boxing. Remember, over there, or if you don't know, Anthony Mundine is like Floyd Mayweather over there. So for Manny Pacquiao to come over there, the whole country is lit right now. That's just a big-ass party. And it's a shame that, maybe the lights, maybe the glamour, the glitz had all got to Jeff Horn, because he struggled to make weight. He's dehydrated. He was talking about how he had to drop all these pounds, the day of the fight. And remember, people are not giving him a chance. You have Pacquiao right now, who's going to be 39 years old at the end of this year, 59, 6-2, 38 KOs, going for his 60th win, 39th knockout, probably. Jeff Horn, 16-0-1, 11 KOs. To Jeff Horn's credit, he is the WBO mandatory. So, of course, Pacquiao could have tried to find a way out of it. Maybe tried to fight. Well, then again, Keith Thurman's injured. He ain't fighting no Errol Spence right now. So it's like this. You can look at it like this. Pacquiao doesn't get enough respect for the things that he has done. He is a Hall of Famer, 8th Division champion. Despite the fact that he lost to Floyd Mayweather cleanly and clearly, and he didn't disclose his injury, because he really was injured. So there was a lot of controversy. Floyd Mayweather took the IV. Manny Pacquiao had an injury that was aggravated. He had an old injury that was aggravated in training camp to the point where he wasn't even able to do any sparring. Even the build-up to the fight, people knew something was wrong, because the media day workout, one of the biggest media day workouts in boxing history, for the biggest fight of all time, he didn't do shit. So looking at Jeff Horn, looking at the biggest name on his resume is Randall Bailey, and he stopped Randall Bailey, of all things, but Randall Bailey has always been long in the tooth, since, truth be told, he got that big win over Mike Jones in 2012. I remember I watched that fight. I forgot what undercard that was on. Was that Pacquiao Bradley won or Pacquiao Marquez? Whatever, I forgot. Anyway, he got that big win, but besides that, he should have been, truth be told, he should have been retired. So if you look at the resume of Jeff Horn, you have to think like, yo, dude ain't do shit. And yet he's getting a title shot. But a lot of people are talking about how this fight is on ESPN. Understand that this is not ESPN Friday Night Fights anymore. People think that because Top Rank is moving their fighters from HBO to ESPN, they are not praising it as if they would praise it if it was Al Heyman that was bringing his fighters to ESPN, just like he tried to do before. But yet, what I've noticed is, and this is not a black thing or a white thing, I just noticed that, the racial divide when it comes to boxing news and boxing politics and what's good for the sport can be skewed. So like I said, if it was Al Heyman, bringing his fighters to ESPN for the first time and he ain't tried before, then they would have been like, oh my God, Al Heyman's got his fighters on ESPN. It's just crazy. He's bringing sport. But yet when Pacquiao fights on ESPN, it's like, Pacquiao's done. He's fighting on ESPN. No more pay-per-view anymore for him. This is not the same ESPN Friday Night Fights anymore. This is not the same ESPN. Yes, you're going to be using Teddy Atlas, when that was Joe Tessitore. But it's a higher budget, a significant budget, to whereas in ESPN is actually investing in the sport along with Top Rank to be able to bring A-side versus A-side matchups to ESPN, not the A-side versus the J-sides. They're working to bring you know, big fights to ESPN. For example, they wanted Lomachenko versus Orlando Salido on ESPN. You know how crazy that would have been? You know, on the 5th of August. Now he's fighting Mariaga. You know, you got Terrence Crawford versus Julius Ndungu for all the marbles. WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF, IBO. Ring Magazine Championship on ESPN. Why is this not being praised? Because it's Bob Arum. Yeah, people like Terrence Crawford, but it's Bob Arum. You know, people say, oh, well, you know, Bob Arum, you know, they're going down and Pacquiao was done. But once again, if this was Al Heyman doing something like this, everybody would be like, you know, he's bringing the sport back to the people and everything, not remembering or realizing that he failed on ESPN. And that's not hate. It's just shit you can go look up for yourself. And for the people who don't know, listen, I've proven that I've been pretty resilient on YouTube. So many people tried to destroy me and tried to get me out of the business in any type of way, shape, or form, saying I fell off and I'm never going to do this, never going to do that. But one thing is for sure is everything I talk about in these videos, you can go look that shit up yourself. So you can call me a hater for bringing up the truth that other people won't talk about. But the fact is, it's the truth. Al Heyman failed on ESPN. He was supposed to be bringing A-side versus A-side matchups on ESPN on Saturday nights, and it failed. The last ESPN fight was what? Al Heyman was what? Fucking Jan Zavek and Erisland Lara. You know, remember, they started off with a bang with Paulie Malignaggi and Danny Garcia, if I'm correct, and then Keith Thurman, Luis Collazo, even though fans were bitching at that fight. You know, so ESPN is actually investing. You got a Golden Bill on ESPN2, and you got now Top Rank bringing A-side matchups and trying to learn from the mistakes and capitalize from the mistakes of Al Heyman, you know, by bringing good quality matchups to ESPN and be like, oh, shit. You can't go wrong if you're not doing anything this Saturday night, right? Or if you're having that barbecue because the 4th of July is on Tuesday here, and the fight's on Saturday. So imagine, right? You know, everybody at the crib, you barbecuing and shit, and it's like, oh shit, Pacquiao fighting on ESPN. God damn, you can't go wrong with that. You know, the fight can be in bars, the fight can be in clubs. You can go to TGI Fridays and watch the fight. You know, so what's so wrong with him fighting on ESPN? I can see if they tried to sell us Pacquiao versus Horn on pay-per-view, my God, the uproar. My God, the uproar if they would have tried to sell us that shit on pay-per-view. So if you don't know, did I say the weights? Pacquiao winning at 146. Of course, he never has no issues making weight. You know, he's a guy that has to eat up to make weight or to stay on weight because he's burning so many calories working out. Jeff Horn weighed in at 147, looking very concerned on the scale. You know, and truth be told, people are saying Jeff Horn's going to get knocked the fuck out. I put a video out trolling a little bit, you know, where I put a video out saying, you know, Jeff Horn shows speed and power. But yet it was in slow motion. Slow motion is the speed. He is showing speed. It's slow speed and power, you know. Hold on 1 minute, my bad. What are you doing? Question mark. How's your night going? Question mark. You know, so it's like this. I'm hyped for the fight because it's a Pacquiao fight on ESPN. I'm looking at the significance of it. Now, do I give a fuck about him fighting Jeff Horn? No, but I want to see the presentation. You know, over there, it's going to be like 9:30 in the morning. But over here, it's going to be, you know, 9 p.m. at night. I like how they did it. You know, so it's like this, you know, you have to look. For example, you can go look at Mayweather versus Berto. Now, listen, Mayweather versus Berto is by far a better fight than Pacquiao versus Horn. But if anything should have been on free TV, it should have been Mayweather versus Berto. That should have been fucking PBC on CBS. And I know the background story to that, but you know, whatever. We're not going to get into that. You know, but this fight's not on it's on ESPN. And also, you know, people can say that Pacquiao's going broke and all that. No, he's not, and this is not a money fight. I had a conversation with a chick yesterday. We had a big falling out because she tried to tell me about boxing. And it wasn't even about that. It was about her attitude. It's like, yo, I know that, you know, no matter where Pacquiao goes, the Filipinos are going to support him. You see what I'm saying? Over in Australia, once again, that's a big, major fight over there. He's making major money fighting over there. Over here, don't nobody give a fuck about it. You see what I'm saying? Don't nobody give a fuck about it. So, you know, it's looking like Pacquiao ain't going to be retiring no time soon, yo. He could probably go be fighting till he fucking 40 or he get fucking knocked out again. You know, but still, if he's still gonna stick around and he's still got some skills and nobody showed him that he's old yet. You can say, you know, Mayweather did, but that's Mayweather. You know, Mayweather makes anybody look amateurish. You know, you saw what he did to Jesse Vargas. You know, he beat Timothy Bradley clean that third time and that second time. You know, so it's like the guy just doesn't get enough, like, respect. Even when you look at the fact that when Floyd Mayweather was in and out of retirement, Pacquiao was holding that shit down on the pay-per-views, you know? So look at his let's just look at his resume just from when he really started really becoming like an international superstar. Now, we can go way back to fucking Juan Manuel Marquez and Marco Antonio Barrera and Ant Morales. But let's start when he fought Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Miguel Cotto, Joshua Clottey, Antonio Margarito, Shane Mosley, Juan Manuel Marquez, Timothy Bradley. Juan Manuel Marquez put him to sleep. Brandon Rios, okay, and still the names though. Timothy Bradley again, Chris Algieri. He made Chris Algieri the name that he is outside of Ruslan Provodnikov. Floyd Mayweather, Timothy Bradley again, Jesse Vargas. And now if you really look at Jeff Horn's the lowest of the low of all those names. So if you look at the fights that he's been fighting consistently, you know, twice a year outside of, you know, when he only fought once in 2015, you know, because of you know, the Floyd Mayweather negotiations and, you know, all that, and, you know, possibly maybe retiring. And then also remember when he got knocked out by Marquez, he took that, you know, almost a year off between Marquez and Brandon Rios. But it's like this, man. We're just going to have to see. So, you know, I'm going to be doing a video later on, probably a live stream talking about this fight. Once again, Pacquiao, 146 pounds. Jeff Horn, 147. The fight's going to be taking place 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN, regular ESPN1. You got Mike Conlon on the card and a couple other people on the card that's going to be interesting. I'm really interested to see, like, the atmosphere, you know? That's what I'm looking forward to. But anyway, I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe.